Boy, oh boy, folks, it is the eve before the last day of the legislative session 2023 here in the state of Minnesota. And I just want to take a moment to react to one of the craziest things that I've seen this session. It comes on in floor debate in the form of floor debate from today by Representative Tina Liebling in defense of a bill which centralizes authority over hospitals' ability to engage in business transactions and places that authority in the hands of the attorney general, one man. Now, if you might regard such a concentration as power as a exercise in, I don't know, socialism, then that view might be affirmed by the comments you're about to hear. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Well, this is a very important bill, and I just want to say one thing about it. Our healthcare system has to be about the public interest. This is about the health of the people of Minnesota. It's also about our economy, but fundamentally, this is about the health of the people in all of our districts. And what happens among these private entities in our healthcare space is all of our business. And I'm sorry, it isn't private interest, it's public interest, even if they're private entities. And if any of you know even a little bit about our healthcare system, you know how complicated it is. The public money and the public interest flows through it in every aspect. So there really is no such thing as private, truly private interest in this space.
So I've had a lot of interaction with the healthcare system in general and Fairview in particular, which is the target of this bill. It's a potential merger between Fairview and Sanford, which is a South Dakota-based healthcare organization. I used to work for Fairview as an employee. My wife used to work for Fairview as an employee. Our son's life was saved by Fairview through like Star Trek-like style surgery to address a very rare genetic condition. So none of those things were public interest though, right? Like it's not the public's business that the healthcare of my son or the employment of my wife or the employment of myself. None of those things are matters of public interest. They are very clearly matters of private interest. They're of interest to me personally, to my wife personally, to my child personally. They are private interest matters. And the way that the left tries to lay claim to those private matters is by introducing, without invitation, public money into the process. And you see Representative Liebling citing that. And so this is kind of like the cycle of things, right? So uninvited, the government intrudes itself, sticks the camel's nose under the tent of healthcare and our personal private concerns. And then after they do that, after they impose that upon us, they use their previous imposition as justification for why the things that we do privately are no longer our personal business and are actually subject to public scrutiny.
Question was asked here, maybe the rhetorical question, who is the arbiter? Somebody has to be the arbiter. Somebody has to look out for the public interest. And I think it is entirely appropriate for that somebody to be the Attorney General, who is, after all, the people's lawyer, who is elected by the entire state to look out for the interests of the state.
All right, so what say you on that? Is Keith Ellison your personal arbiter for right and wrong when it comes to your health care? Because that's the claim that was just made by Representative Tina Liebling. That rather than each of us individually interacting in a market where our individual market choices determine the quality and cost of the products and services that we engage with, rather than dealing with that, we should turn over supreme authority to the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota to be our arbiter for how healthcare ought to be run. Those are the two choices on offer, and the Democrats have gone with the latter. They think that the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, currently should be in control of your health care. I don't know. I kind of beg to differ on that point.
And I think it's very important for people to know this isn't just giving the Attorney General a bunch of power. It is giving the Attorney General the power to bring an action in district court. So who is the ultimate arbiter? It's the courts, which is also appropriate. So this bill may not be perfect. No bill that we pass here is ever perfect. Large changes always have to be looked at and tweaked in future years, and I'm sure this one will too. But I think this is an incredibly important bill that we're passing this year, and I want to really thank Representative Bierman for all of the work he's done and the really diligent way that I've seen him listen to all of the stakeholders. And
all right, that's enough of that. She doesn't really get much more substantive past that point. So what we're dealing with here is, and it's not explicitly said, of course, Liebling isn't going to actually tell you what she's talking about, right? Because that would ruin her entire argument. What we're talking about here is not just the Attorney General having the power to bring some random cause of action against a particular healthcare provider. What we're talking about is the Attorney General being able to interpose within a private transaction, a merger between Fairview specifically and Sanford specifically. Now, the bill is tailored in creative language to only apply to that particular situation, but obviously those two organizations are being targeted by this. And so the idea that the courts, it's okay because the courts are the final arbiter of this. Well, I can bring a suit against Fairview. You can bring a suit against Fairview. I can bring a suit against Sanford. You can bring a suit against Sanford. What do we need the Attorney General for? Well, what we need him for is to wield this new authority that he's being granted to interpose himself in a private business transaction between those two entities. That's what we need. That's what you can't do and what I can't do as just random citizens, because that would be insane. It would be insane for me as a third party who has no interest whatsoever in a private business transaction to somehow sue to stop it from happening. But we're going to grant that authority that you and I don't have to the Attorney General. That's what's taking place here. And let's be very clear, what the net effect of this is going to be is that Fairview is not going to be able to, through private market action, bail itself out of the current horrific financial situation that it finds itself in. And this very well and indeed likely will result in the Fairview health system collapsing in Minnesota, in the metro area. So there won't be any Fairview anymore as a result of what we see taking place here, the series of events that are being triggered by this bill. So thanks, Tina Liebling. I guess the public interest in healthcare results in not having any. Thanks, Minnesota Democrats.